Been,
now?
yeah, it's been a couple weeks.
It's felt like a long time, bro.
It did feel like a long time. I was we were on holiday. It just flies by every single year. I feel like that
Totally.
whole Christmas time just goes so fast. But um, we've had some pretty exciting roster changes. I think that's the first thing we could talk about. I mean, I think what to start for in terms of last year was what we saw was teams didn't break up because of their seed. They
Right.
didn't take that chance. And we saw it really affected them going into stage one. There were so many teams like you saw for 3 or 4 open events where they just were struggling, but it didn't matter. They didn't want to pull the trigger because they wanted to make Pro League. And I totally get that. This year, it's a little bit different. We obviously only have 2 events before Pro League as Pro League starts end of this month, which is crazy. Um, and teams are pulling the trigger. They want to go into the Pro League and into New Orleans with the best team possible. And I respect them for it because I think last year it should have happened more often than it did.
For sure, for sure. But now this is always the fun time where people make these changes depending on pro points sometimes, and then we go into the event where it's like now we have these powerhouse open bracket teams that were comfortable in a pool play spot. Is that going to completely change the look of the tournament for them? Will they outplace the team that the roster change sort of went down? It's always interesting to see where if these new pool play teams are going to flop just because they're making changes just to get that pool play spot, or if they're actually the real deal and going to be a good team. So I'm always a huge fan of this roster lock sort of period, especially going into Pro League. We're going to see a lot of new faces on some new teams going into NOLA. We're going to be able to see, at NOLA and going into Pro League, which teams are the real deal. It's still tough to tell at this point because the most gameplay that we see is online, and it gives you a pretty good idea of who's good and who's not. But events and LAN games is what I'm really excited to see especially with all these new rosters.
Yeah, and I mean you're taking a risk because now you're talking about 6 to 8 weeks of preparation and improvement to, all right, like if teams are making roster changes today, which did happen, now you have 10 days until New Orleans, and you still have to perform well. Just because you're in pools doesn't mean you're going to get in a Pro League. I mean, we saw just last event, Echo Fox FaZe, they got through open bracket.
Yep.
They stormed their ways through pools and losers bracket, and they got a top 8 finish. So nobody's safe right now. It'll be a very interesting, next weekend. New Orleans is going to be a ton of fun. It'll be super interesting to see how these teams perform, but I'm excited. So I think the first thing we probably talk about is the Rise and Echo Fox trade. I think this was probably the two biggest trades in terms of names of the teams. So yeah, let's talk about the new Rise, TeeP. So you have Methods, Gunless, Looney. I put Looney twice. Silly and TJ. So Rise is just recreated. I mean, they kicked everybody off besides Looney, which I'm sort of a fan of because their identity was sort of lost after Black Ops 3 last year. They obviously win Vegas, and then after that you really didn't see that same rise until Champs, where they got top 4, and it was a great showing, but consistently they weren't there. So you have Methods, who I'm super excited about. I think this is a great pickup for Rise. He's been improving time and time again. Gunless, and what's super interesting about Gunless is when he was picked up with FaZe last year, he was running like an AR at times. We saw him with like an NV4. I'll never forget the first hardpoint we watched them at Pro League. They lost like a retaliation, like 250 to 80, and Gunless was running out the NV4. But it seems like Gunless is going to play that secondary AR based on what I saw yesterday from the 2K and scrims. And then TJ, who, again, just turned 18, young talent, but that's really it. Rise is going with that new up-and-coming talent.
Yeah, for sure. And, I'm bringing this roster picture up one more time. Obviously, we have a bunch of different lineups that we're going to talk about. But, chat, we're playing a game today. When we go team by team, I want you guys to pick good or bad. Do you like the roster change? Do you not like the roster change? As we go from team to team, once we finish it up, I'll ask you guys in chat. You guys can interact and see what you guys think. But speaking on the new Rise, obviously swap out Looney for TJ. I did this before, so all the pictures already got uploaded. So Looney squared It's actually TJ instead. Like you said, Methods has been an absolute monster so far. And one thing that I was worried about was it due to his situation on Next Threat where he was really comfortable. I wasn't sure if that was going to translate over to a new team. But based on the 2K yesterday, obviously they just won it. Methods looked just fine. So all those worries that I had kind of went away. Methods has solidified himself, in my opinion, as one of the best ARs in the game that we have right now. He's been so damn consistent. I have to give it to him at this point. Obviously, this will be backed up more if he has a really good NOLA, has a good KD once again. But the guy's been on fire. If he can keep that up, Rise is definitely a contender to probably, I don't know, win an event, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, what struggles Rise had in the past was just consistent slaying. Yeah. And I think with the pickup of Methods and Gunless, that's kind of where you find it. I mean, Gunless, I don't think he had a true identity on Echo Fox. That Echo Fox team, like, I mean, they placed pretty well, but something just seemed a little bit off, and they obviously felt that way as well as they made a roster change. But I feel like the slaying is a lot more consistent now. You know, with old Rise, you were like, all right, is Looney going to step it up? Who's going to help Aqua? Because it was supposed to be Felony, and for a little bit there it was. But you haven't seen that sort of consistent superstar slaying that I think they were looking for when they first made that move, when they dropped Nagafin a couple of years ago. So then the pressure just kept falling on other people. Aqua, I guess, I'm sure was very frustrated with his team's performance. At Champs, they had a great performance, but really it came from S&D. It wasn't their respawns at all times. So I feel like this Rise, I love it. They take up-and-coming talent, and they should have that slaying power with Methods and Gunless. And we'll see, because, again, Looney, when he was, I mean, you teamed with him in like AW, in Ghost, like that's what he was known for. Like he was a great slayer. That's what got him on the map. If he can get into that form again, if TJ can play at that top level where he was in the finals just a couple years ago, this Rise team is going to be very difficult to play against.
Isn't that funny how that works though? Like you see players develop throughout their career. They make it onto the scene. They're a crazy good slayer, dropping 40 bombs, and then as years go by, these top-tier slayers, it happened to us, for example. We were both slayers at a time, right? Over time, you start to take a back seat. You learn more and more about the game, and I feel like it's just a natural progression for a lot of players where they just you gain this leadership. You know how to win, right?
That's it. And that's all it comes down to. Yeah.
You want to play consistent as possible. So I feel like over time, the more reps you get at LAN on maps in general, at tournaments, it's just like a natural progression. So it's good to see Looney stepping into that leadership role, especially now that Facento is gone, going to be the leader for this team. Looney. We just start doing the dirty role. You do what you need to do to get the victory. But regardless, speaking on this, I feel like Methods was one of the only people that could fill the slaying shoes that Aqua brought to the table. And it's going to be interesting to see if Aqua is going to be able to slay well on that Echo Fox lineup, which we can talk about next.
Yeah, so do we want to ask the chat good or bad for Rise?
Yeah, sure. Good or bad, chat?
I'm voting good.
Good.
I'm voting good.
This one's an easy one. They just won the 2K, so you kind of have to say good.
I just like let's just wipe everybody except for Looney. We have a leader. Let's keep him in that role. It felt like the other guys weren't falling behind him. Maybe Aqua had a different mindset on the game, and they were just butting heads. And if three guys want to listen to Looney, that makes it even better. But there is a lot of pressure now on Danny. I'm sure he's excited that he probably has three guys who will listen to him. Because, again, after years and years and years of playing with one another, that's just what tends to happen. Other people think there's a different way to play. Now he has three younger guys. I mean, Gunless isn't that young, but, Methods and TJ who have experience, but they'll look up to him. They'll do what he needs to do. And if they're slaying around him, he'll do, as he said, he'll do the dirty work and they'll win. So, it looks like everybody is saying good.
That one's the easy one. They just won the 2K. You got to say good at this point. I hope they can carry it over to NOLA.
Agreed. I'm very excited. Again, I'm happy that teams are taking this risk before Pro League. They're in a very good spot now. So they made a trade, and they traded with Echo Fox. So this is an interesting one. Echo Fox is now Saints, Aqua, Facento, Assault. They pick up Aqua. Did they pick up anybody else? No, that
No.
the other three are the same. So they just pick up Aqua. And this is one I think this typically doesn't happen, even in like real sports where I feel like both teams win out on a trade. I think this trade helps both teams. And for me, this is why. Aqua, I think, has a lot of respect for Faceno, but I also think that Aqua is going to be put into the SMG Slayer role. I think Faceno and Assault will be those two ARs. You obviously have Assault, who that's kind of what he does. But Aqua, I think he is going to play SMG. I feel like that's what he wants to do. When he was known in AW, he sort of was such a good sneaky Slayer, especially in like Search and Destroy, just kind of played on an island, played for himself, and he was darn good at it. So him and Saints running SMG, that is going to be very tough to deal with. And then as time went on, he sort of transitioned into an AR just because he was picking up so many kills. But I'm very excited to see how this roster progresses.
Oh, for sure. All eyes on Aqua with this roster change going down. If he's going to be, a top-tier SMG player, going through the past couple of games, he was the main anchor sort of AR slow roll. Is he going to be able to switch it up and not only be good but great for this team, because that's what they need if they're going to get some better results. They had a pretty good Dallas, so it's not like I'm knocking them down at all. But I feel like it's a lot on. You know what you're going to get out of Saints and Assault, in my opinion. They have a very consistent play style. They're not going to do anything too crazy, and they're probably going to get like a 1.1 KD. It's on Aqua and Facento, in my opinion, to really step it up to the next level if they are going to get to that top four. I don't know that they're going to, though. It's going to take a pretty crazy good performance from Facento, in my opinion, for that to happen.
I agree. Yeah, and again, I think you're obviously going to have that chemistry with Aqua and Faceno, from the past couple of years. But, I mean, Bryce is going to have to step up big time. And it's going to be tough because he has three, to be blatantly honest, selfish guys around him, guys who just want to get kills.
Right.
He's going to have a lot of work to do. He's going to have to get in the hill, but he's also going to have to pick up those important one-on-one gunfights, which can be very difficult to do at times. So he's in a pretty tough situation because if they start losing and you're going to look at the stat sheet, you know who's going to have the worst stats on this
He's going to get scapegoated quick.
Yeah, he's 100% going to get scapegoated. Oh, we're not winning. Bryce isn't playing that well.
Yep.
There's just a ton of pressure on him. I mean, he has to do a ton, and he has to lead this team. So, again, I feel like the skill ceiling is super high on this team. Again, Aqua in a submachine gun role, we haven't seen it in a couple years, but I feel like this is what he's wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think he feels it's a more important role where if you're getting kills with a submachine gun, it opens up the map more for everyone, and he just seems comfortable in it. So we'll see how he transitions in this game, but yeah, it's going to be tough. I have them I know we say this a lot, but this is like a team who they can get like a top 4 or they can get like a top 16, just depending on how hot those three guys are slaying.
Completely agree with you. It's an all or nothing sort of roster, in my opinion, where if everything's going well, man, it's going to be tough to outslay them. But all it takes is like a bad series in pool play, a couple of bad maps from an individual on the team where, maybe Saints has a bad game and then maybe Aqua's having a bad game, not transitioning over to sub. Like running a sub is tough right now. So these changes might not go as planned. I expect them to go well initially, but you're totally right. It could go great or it could flop. I don't think it's going to be any sort of in between.
Yeah. All right, chat. So what do you guys think? Good or bad? I'm actually interested to see this one. Again, I
good
feel
or bad,
like
Echo Fox?
Want to trade, but we'll see what you guys think. Yulia runs second AR, third SMG, by the way. Okay, so that means Bryce is still running second SMG. But again, Aqua is going to run probably a sub on most maps. Okay, good.
I don't...
Decent. Seems pretty 50-50.
I want to be in the middle, but that's lame. I'm saying bad, because what's going to be that much different?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with. And not supremely bad, like they're going to get a worse placing, but like, are they going to get better?
Yes, I'm actually going to take a look. Something I'm interested in, I think the one thing with Aqua that might improve is their search and destroy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was an issue at Dallas, so I'm gonna take a look. So S&D they were 5-4. Their worst was actually Hardpoint. They were 5-7, which is surprising to me. Um, and when you look at the Hardpoint stats, Gunless had the worst. He had a 0.85,
Yeah.
in Hardpoint. So it'll be very interesting. I mean, if Aqua can pick it up, if they can start winning some games 1-4, this will definitely be a very tough team to beat. All right,
You got to pick,
move on
Joe.
to
You got to pick.
I'm going good. I think both
Okay.
teams. I think both teams progressed in this trade. I think that Aqua wants to play with Faceno. I think Aqua with his submachine gun more. I think that's what he wants to do. I think that's probably why he transitioned to this role. For Rise, I'm glad that they just sort of, instead of recycling players, they went with a brand new face. It'll be really cool to see, because the biggest thing with Rise these past couple of years, man, was pool play. Like,
Yeah.
if they survived pool play, they did well in the
fine.
tournament.
For sure.
But those Fridays, they would go 1-2 or 0-3. Like, they would just have really bad Fridays. It put them in a really shitty position where the bracket was tough for them, and they had to make long runs. If
Totally
this
right.
Rise team can have a good Friday, put themselves in a bracket, this team can make a ton of noise. So I think that deals with the players. Now that's Echo Fox, where you have Aqua Faceno, who potentially could have been two of those players who had that problem of getting hot on a Friday. So we'll see at New Orleans how good this team is, and if they can get out of pools and into that winners bracket.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I'm going with bad. Not like they're going to be a worse team, but I feel like they're just going to be around the same. So if you're making a roster change, going to stay around the same. This is purely my opinion, obviously. I guess it's not the greatest roster change because it's just lateral movement. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm going with. All right, let's move on.
All right. Next one, Ground Zero. I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. I heard a few roster rumors where like Ghost Gaming was going to change, and I heard that like Study and Parasite were involved in that, but that didn't end up happening. But instead, this happened. So Study and Parasite on Ground Zero, they pick up Felony and Nagafin. Felony obviously getting dropped from Rise. Or they didn't pick up Nagafin. They had Nagafin, right? No, Nagafin getting left next threat.
Yeah.
So a very interesting roster. Study and Parasite, instead of going with the young guns, they decided to pick up Felony and Nagafin, who had a ton of experience. I'm a bit indifferent on this roster, so I'll let you go first, Tyler.
Man, it's tough to say. I've watched some scrims of these guys, and again, I just don't know if it's going to be that much different. Like the Ground Zero team was sort of in that 9 to 12 range, just sort of hanging out. They had a decent Northern Arena where they didn't really show me anything too crazy, and I don't know if it's going to move up their placement at all. Like, Felony wasn't great on Rise, to be honest. Like, he wasn't bad. He wasn't good, like, amazing. He's just sort of in that average sort of zone, which is completely fine. And then Nagafen, sort of the same on Next Threat, right? So it's like, can you say that?
I felt like Nagafin had more impact, though, right? Like he was picking it up a bit in the slang, which we were very critical of him. You know, even like back in Black Ops 3. And I mean, that's why he got dropped. When that Elevate team was trying to beat Optic, they needed more slaying power, right? Like that's just what they needed. And it seems like he's a bit more comfortable. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. So yeah, so let's see. So they got top 32 in the 2K yesterday. That's why I was interested in seeing. For me, I mean, I think this team. So obviously the last Ground Zero, what were they gonna win? And they actually didn't. So I'm looking now.
Yeah.
Or never mind, that's Next Threat. Ground Zero, they were 3-5 in S&D, and when they had Pharaoh and Blast, everybody thought that this team was going to be an excellent S&D team.
That's always how
it didn't end up that way. It just didn't end up that way. This one in particular, though, all four of these players have been known to just be absolute beasts in Search and Destroy.
Yeah.
Study, I imagine him and Naga are going to snipe. at times. You obviously have Fellow, who was known for being a very aggressive SMG player. And then you have Parasite, who has continuously been known as a great search and destroy player. So I hope that their games 2 and 5 are going to be very stellar, because I think the slaying power just isn't quite there yet. And I think a lot of that pressure right now is going to fall on the hands of Felony in like Study, because those are going to be the SMG players.
Right.
I mean, they have to go up against, your Scumps, your Crims, your Karmas. I mean, Looney and TJ, Aqua and Saints. Like, how much trust do you place in the Study and Felony to consistently slay against the top teams in the world?
Yeah, you're totally right. Like, when you look at sub-duos on teams, where do you rank this sub-duo on the side of Ground Zero? You can't rate them very high.
Yeah.
Honestly. The slaying...
Just from what we've seen in the past,
yeah, exactly.
Just the past couple of months.
It's like, it's recency bias, but it's like, it means something. Obviously, the KDs haven't been too crazy. They obviously could turn it around and just be a fantastic team on lane. You never really know, but based on previous results... I slot them in that same sort of 9 to 12 range.
Yeah, I think so as well. I have a feeling like this team could have a really good event where their teamwork's just like going extremely well. I mean, there's obviously some chemistry between, Parasite and Nagafin when they were on AW, like Epsilon. Have Felony and Nagafin teamed? I feel like they have in the past. But anyways, there is chemistry between these guys from the past, and I feel like they can make it work. But there's a ton of pressure to make sort of Hardpoint work. I feel like they'll be a great CTF team. Parasite will control the pace.
Yeah.
Nagafin will. That was one of Next Threat's best game types was CTF. The Hardpoint though. Can these guys consistently slay with the best?
They should be a decent 2-3-5 team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, when they dropped Army for Fell, that's when I remember that. Yeah. So I agree. I think if this team's teamwork is going well, I can see them getting into like the top 8, maybe a top 6 an event, but it just comes down to the slaying power. I mean, and we've obviously seen Parasite lately. I don't know if you watched some of the scrims, but with the M1 Grand, he's been taking over. I know that's a huge topic that we'll get to later on. He feels very comfortable right now, but those other guys, if they're playing well, we'll see what they can do. So let's ask the stream. Ground Zero, picking up Felony and Nagafin for Pharaoh and Blastful. What do you guys think? Good or bad?
Chat, good or bad? Joe, what you going with?
I'm going to go good. I think that the Pharaoh Blastful duo wasn't working out. Obviously, chat disagrees big time with me. They're going bad. I mean, this is the thing. There was obviously tension between the players, even up to this point. Parasite just wasn't enjoying teaming with those guys, and they decided to go with veterans. I mean, typically I'm the one, and we talked about it in the past couple of episodes, where I love picking up the young talent. It's time. You know who's going to play well.
Yeah.
You know how they sort of fit into the scene. And the new guys, you just take a risk on. Like TK took a risk on Kenny. I thought Pharaoh and Blastful were going to sort of send a little bit quicker, but they're just not there yet. Maybe they need more time. But I just felt like the team as a whole wasn't a good thing with that Ground Zero roster. So I think in terms of the teamwork and the chemistry aspect, it's a good thing. In terms of where they're going to place, I don't think it's the best move. That's sort of lateral for me. I don't think they're going to go up much.
I'm picking good as well. I'm always going to take like leadership, veteran players over new players. And we just speaking on like that previous team, quote unquote, should have been really good at search and destroy. Just like search and destroy online tournaments are not like pro search and destroy. So I get a little bit annoyed when people like always talk about that, like, oh, this S&D star X is going to do really well in search and destroy for this team just because they win a lot of online tournament golds. It's like it's a completely different game playing at a LAN tournament search and destroy compared to an online tournament. So just throwing that out there for just a second. I feel like the chemistry should be a lot better. It's always Haggy, on his shoulders in terms of communication, whether it's going good or bad. I feel like Nagafin's a player that could get really quiet if Hagi's just going full complain mode and sort of shut down a little bit communication side. And as long as they can have a good attitude, I feel like they might be able to get like top 8-ish. But for the most part, I think it's going to be lateral movement roster-wise, and simple as that. But leadership, communication, overall experience is always a plus.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is Nagafin and Felony, they have some great placings under them. And when things have gone great for them and when they've put a solid team together, even when Parasite was on Epsilon with Nagafin, they've had some great placings. I mean, that was 3-4 years ago now, as crazy as that seems, but they were able to do it. So we'll see what happens. I think this team is going to just rely on their teamwork. If that's going well, then they can make some noise, but a lot of it's just going to rely on that slaying power. All right, so the next one, and this just happened.
Yep.
A bit of an interesting move. Enigma 6, supposedly Ricky has said that Blastful, someone we were just talking about, was picked up for Bevels. So now Enigma 6 is Blastful Sensor Dashing General. By my calculations, what this does, E6 moves into the 10th seed with 40,115 points. Even if Ricky's team picks up Bevels, which is Ricky, Pharaoh, Decimate, they're only at 39,000, and then Ground Zero would move up to number 9. So Enigma 6 made a power move basically today to try and get a pool play spot. So they pick up Blastful, so now the roster is Blastful, Sensor, Dashy, General. What do you think about it, TeeP? I mean, this is obviously a pretty sketchy move, but
super sketchy.
Do you think the risk is going to pay off for him?
That's some snaky crap going on. I'm reading Ricky's twit longer right now, and
all right.
he is very fairly salty because whenever a move like this goes down, everything's fine and dandy. And then the day of roster lock comes, and sure enough, the snake comes out.
Be one, right?
There's always one, bro. And you know what? Doug Sensor Martin found him, and he's benefited from it.
Wait, so I'm going through this. I'm going through this twit longer. So Ricky says everyone was locked with their teams at this time. The only thing left for them to do is poach players, hoping they would sketch. All right. Now, fair. It's so hard to give E6 shit on this or crap on this. Like, they're just trying to get a pool play spot. They feel like that's the best position for them to make Pro League. I totally get it.
Yeah.
So Doug tried offering me. So this Ricky says Doug tried offering me a spot again, and this is where I told him I'm not leaving my team no matter what he offered. Yada yada.
It's always how it works.
He just went down the line, player by player on my team, promised them crazy amounts of stuff. My teammates also declined at the same time as me until last night, where Blast simply just left due to frustrations as a player. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if Blastful, they just had a bad night of scrims. I'll come out with an explanation too.
And again, this is Ricky's side of the story.
There's always
we got to
5
hear
sides of story.
Yeah, Sensor's going to put out his side of it, and that's completely fine. And like Doug just said in the chat, the players weren't contracted. Fair is fair in terms of like the contractual side of things, right? So money talks, and as a player, money's cool. Joe, do you like money? I like money. But speaking from Ricky's perspective, this is from Ricky's perspective, turn down the offer and then to have your teammate take the offer, that just sucks, I'm
going to talk from personal experience. The only time I had situations like this was Black Ops 3 with my Team Liquid team. Obviously, Stage 1 was going on at the time. There was a lot of sort of not good rosters. And, teams wanted apathy and study. Yeah. All those guys. And they were just trying to poach him. And luckily enough, yes, we were contracted, but there was always that option of, we were very honest with one another.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out in the end. We got reverse swept and didn't make Stage 2. And then apathy went on to win world champ, so it worked out great for him.
Yeah.
But that trust is very difficult to have in players. It is very tough. We were constantly talking about it. Luckily, those guys were straight up with me. I was straight up with them. This is a thing. This is a thing. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And players take the best option. I mean, at the end of the day, Blastful could be right. This E6 team, Blastful, Dashy in general, just those three that stick out to me, like in terms of slaying power, that's like a pretty scary trio. And then,
Yeah.
Doug's just been on a mission this whole year. I'm going to do whatever the heck I need to do to win. I want to put myself in the best position, and I'm going to put myself in pool play. So as soon as, they might have that number 10 seed, if my calculations are correct, and this was a power move by Enigma 6.
Power move. I can respect the power moves, and Doug gets shit done.
Yeah, dude.
Did anyone in this chat think Sensor was going to come back and be on a pool play slotted team for NOLA? No one should say yes, because I didn't.
Yeah.
No way. No one could have made that bet. So it's a power move. E6 is in a really good spot to make some moves at NOLA and qualify for Pro League, and this is what they thought that they had to do to do that. And like you said it, the three players, they do stand out. It could be a very good lineup. Obviously, Doug has to perform as well. I feel like Doug's been doing his job just fine. Just talking about the Next Threat performances. The reason why I'm sad about this whole situation with the Next Threat roster breaking up and splitting off into a million different pieces is I feel like Next Threat was one of the only rosters that was showing consistent improvement and growth.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sad. And that's what I love to see in Call of Duty, especially at the pro level. The fact that that roster was making gains every single time, and then for it to end up breaking up because all the players want to go off and the grass is always greener on the other side in a lot of people's minds. It's like that's why I'm sad about it, because they were getting good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had stars in the making, right? Methods that's basically how he got on to Rise. And sometimes you see that, like, players will play a specific way, maybe boost their stats a little bit. Obviously, Methods has been keeping it up. But yeah, I mean, they were looking darn good. Everyone just wants the best for them. I totally get it. It's a super important right now. I mean, again, after New Orleans, literally 10 days or 9 days after New Orleans, we start stage 1. So I get it. So let's first talk about this roster, and then I'll get into pro point standings.
Yeah.
So you got Blastful, Sensor, Dashy, General. How good do you think this team can be, Tyler?
Huh. It's so tough because, like, I feel like the 9 to 12 up to like top 8 is just so damn competitive. Hell, probably even up to top 6, if I'm being honest. But,
so I'll give you Dallas stats.
Okay.
And it's obviously that was a while ago, but overall, General had a .81, which I think you and I both thought that just seemed a little off. Maybe he had a bad event because he hasn't done that in the past.
Right.
Just that hasn't been General. Maybe he wasn't playing in a comfortable role. Dashy had a 1.28.
Beast.
A ridiculous performance. Bevels had a .81 and Decimate had a 1. Whew. So, and then on the Next Threat side, Doug had a .8. And then who was the last player that they got? Did I say all of them? Blastful. Let me check Blastful's. Ground Zero. He had a .96.
Yeah.
So, you still, if General can become the sort of, I don't know if he wasn't running AR, honestly. I didn't watch a lot of E6. They didn't scrim or stream much. So I don't know if General wasn't running an AR. But that's where he was always most comfortable. I know Dashy was running AR a lot of the time. So I think your two subs right now are going to be Blastful and Sensor, and then you'll have Dashy and General sort of be those two slayering ARs where General will pick up that third SMG. I think this team, it's sort of similar to like Echo Fox to me. Like if they're slaying well, they're going to be really hard to stop. But this is the other part of it. You're going to go into pool play. You're going to be the 10th NA team. You're going to probably have a very tough pool. You're going to have, 10 days of practice. And I just am scared because all right, I'm gonna bring up the pro point standings. So if Ricky's team was to pick up Bevels, that's where I have them inserted right now. It might not happen. It might be someone else, but they would be at 39,000 points. That's like 1,200 behind them.
Yeah.
The next team would be Lightning Pandas at 31,000. So they have a 9,000 point lead on the 12th seed.
Yeah.
13 seed is Ghost Gaming at 31,000. 14 seed is EG at 30,000. This is the thing with pool play. You're guaranteed top 24. I do not. They have to get like top 16, top 12, and they're probably fine. For EEG, Ghost, and Lightning Pandas, they have to probably get like T8 if they want to make a chance. Can you see that happening? Can you see Ground Zero or E6? Because Ground Zero and E6 are about 400 points away. Echo Fox is like 4,000 ahead of them at 8 seed. Can you see one of those teams choking, I guess, and getting like a top 20, having a bad Friday because they have a brand new team?
Yeah.
And a team like EG or Lightning Pandas having one of those Phaser or Echo Fox runs?
I don't think so, man.
No?
I don't think so. I don't think Lightning Pandas or EG has shown enough to pull off something like that. In my opinion, they're going to have to beat some quality teams, not to mention make it through another gruesome open bracket.
But here's the thing.
I think they're going to be fine.
E6 is going to have to play a Tier 1 team, well, a Tier 1, a Tier 2, a Tier 3 team, plus an open team who's going to come off hot. How many matches do you think they win in pool play? Like one?
Probably
they
like
have
one
to
or
if
two,
they get fourth. If they get fourth, they'll be top 20. If they get fifth in the pool, they'll be top 24.
Yeah.
The goal for them, to me, is just get fourth, third or fourth. Like, I don't see them, and this is just based off of we haven't seen enough from these guys. This is a brand new roster. I don't see them getting top 2 in a pool. So, if they get third or fourth, they're winning 4 pool play matches, says Doug. All right, I respect that.
Classic Doug.
That's some confidence I don't have right now, Doug. I'm sorry. These guys, to me, have to get third or fourth because if they get, I mean, even fourth scares me. That's top 20.
Yeah.
Like if EG goes on a run, I mean, that's a team where this meta might help them. I know we're going to talk about that, but oh, dude, this is scary to me, man. I could see them just having a bad Friday, TeeP.
I think they're going to get third in pool.
Third?
I think they're going to get third in pool and be just fine and end 9-12 once again. Speaking on the E6 roster, though, I'm going to talk about the previous one. I think the biggest problem that they had was they didn't play the objective well at all. This is just purely my opinion of the games that I watched. So that's what I'm saying. I think bringing Censor to this team, this is if Dash is going to put up like another 1.28 or something like that. Doug's the perfect person to have alongside a crazy sort of Slayer like Dashy if he continues that performances. So I feel like Doug's going to bring a good balance to this team that they did not have before. Again, if General and Dashy are playing AR, they're going to be consistent. They're going to be just fine. Doug's going to be Doug. He's going to get a 0.9, do what he needs to do in Hardpoint and CTF, yada yada. He's a good objective sort of player. Blastful is scary. Is he gonna? But you need Blast to go even, like really, really, really bad, at least.
Let me check Hardpoint.
Read off
at Dallas. That he had a 0.9 over 10 maps.
Is that good enough? I think it needs to be more. I think it needs to be like a 1. He's got to be positive. If he, let's say Blast plays the same ish. And he gets like a 0.9. I don't see this team doing much into the bracket really. Probably like top 16, top 12.
Yeah, I agree.
If Blast does do well, it completely changes the story. But based on stats, I don't know. It's scary.
Like here's the other thing. E6 struggled and Ground Zero struggled with S&D. here's what Doug does. Doug is gonna plant that bomb, right? Like
Yeah.
he is going to plant it. He's gonna set his team up. Like that's just what he does.
But like they don't
So
have like every good team has like a superstar sub that just is mashing two pieces over and over again. Is Doug gonna do that? Maybe here and there, but like all the time, probably not. Let's just be honest. Doug, it's just Doug's playstyle. That's fine. Is Blast gonna do that? Probably not. They don't have like a superstar sub Slayer. I'm saying it's scary.
it is scary. And again, I'm gonna just keep talking about preparation. Like I know the only thing that matters is the event, but there's just not a lot of time for this team. Luckily, I think there's a 2K this weekend. I think that'll help them because that's a lot of S&D. That's where you fix mistakes. CTF will be interesting because again, it could just turn into three of them just camping up and Doug going and get the flag. Him just saying, "I'm gonna make a play, you guys slay," because that's typically what happens.
Oh, all my points are basically on Hardpoint.
Yeah, right. It'll be tough to see, man, because again, I know it's very.
I love Doug's comments in the chat. They just make me smile.
I'm the best two S&D players in the world on my team.
I love Doug, man.
Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, let's get it, Doug. Plant the bomb, let him clutch 2v4s, dude. Like I don't know what to tell you. I love it, man. I mean, good on him. This is what he wanted. He wanted a team in this position, and now he has it. And he has some rising stars on his team. Like he has full confidence in Dashy and in general and Blastful. Dude, if that dude's that confident in my team, dude, I'm dropping on 1.3. Like, dude, get me on Doug's team. Doug, after this event, dude, pick me up, man.
Right.
Like, let's get it going. But
I love Doug. That's the attitude that you need to have. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it
too.
That's the attitude you need. No one's gonna stop you.
Me, too.
Go on,
Doug.
Doug.
Let's get that. Let's get that, Doug.
Doug,
But the fact of the matter is, there is gonna be a team that gets hot and open. It happens every event. One of these guys is gonna go on a run, and the pressure's gonna be on. I mean, last year it was literally an EG versus the Ghost Crew match to get in the Pro League.
I hope we get
it was set up.
Again.
That would be amazing, but it was set up to that point, so it's gonna happen. Like somebody is gonna have a match. If they win that, they get in it. If they lose, they don't. So. Oh, hey, New Orleans is going to be a ton of fun. But yeah, I think that's it for roster changes. Chat, E6, good or bad roster change? Good or bad? Let us know what you think.
Compared to old E6, I'd say good.
I think it's great for them.
I think it's really good.
It's crazy. All these roster changes were solid.
Yeah.
Good. Everybody's going good. I mean, besides it
good.
being a last minute move, which again,
that's like the worst.
People aren't going to last, people are going to say Blastful is a snake and yada yada yada. But it is what it is. I mean, he felt like this was his best situation. He got offered the spot, as Doug said. Nobody was contracted, so he just joined their team.
It's good, but they snaked. I'm not. You get the ethics of the roster move, you can debate that all day. But I think compared to the other roster to this one, it's a good move. The ethics of it, completely different conversation.
Yeah.
But we're going to move on. We're not going to talk about that.
All right. Next topic I think you and I wanted to talk about. It's something that is stirring up the community a little bit. It's the meta. So we just had a patch a few weeks ago where the FG was slowed down. The bar a couple times has been nerfed. Some machine guns have gotten buffed. The Thompson is now in play. MP40 not so much yet. I feel like that's a gun that potentially will be, especially with PPSH use. I'm sure just not in competitive. I'm sure it's used a ton in pubs, so I'm sure things will change again. But really, it's ARs versus SMGs. I don't know. I don't think anything was touched today, was it? I saw people saying it was, but I don't think it was. I have no idea. I didn't play today. Did you play it all today, Tyler?
I don't know if it's placebo, but some of the guns felt a little bit different.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, so we're not too sure. Was there no notes? I don't know. All right.
Sledgehammer tweeted that nothing got changed weapon-wise.
Okay, so I trust him.
When I was shooting the FG, I don't know. It felt faster, but I don't want to be one of those conspiracy guys. But
all right, so let's talk about the state of the game and where we started. So obviously the game comes out, and the bar is really, really good. That gets nerfed.
Yeah.
Then the FG comes into play. It kills in 3 bullets. Now that's slowed down. Now we're in a very weird, interesting area. The M1 Grand, which I had a couple of conversations with pro players while we were testing the game, when the game came out, and I said, try the M1 Grand. I mean, it kills in 2 bullets. Like, that's a thing. Like,
scary.
It does. And nothing has happened until then. I believe Clay, I think it was Clay, brought it out, played extremely well.
It's always one of those two. Always.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Before this M1, I haven't used it at all. I didn't like any AR. I as an AR player thought they were all very not good. I don't like the FG nerf. I understand why the FG was nerfed. I understand why the bar was nerfed. I totally get it. But now in this meta, before the M1 sort of came through, I could see a lot of these maps running for PPSHs. Like, even to this point with the bar and the FG, you lose probably 50% of your mid-range fights. Up close, obviously the bar kills in 3 because it has that 3-kill range. That's what's crazy to me too, Tyler. These ARs, they kill faster up close than far.
It's weird.
It's a very weird concept, but we've never really had it before.
I hate it.
In any Call of Duty, like I feel more confident with my bar up close than I do medium to long range because of the sway on it. The FG, obviously, because of the fire rate.
It's almost backwards at times, like what you're like used to playing in COD.
Yeah, it's super weird. But the consistent thing throughout this entire game has been the PPSH.
Yeah.
I think it's the best gun in the game overall. There's little to no sway. The recoil is minimal.
Yeah.
You can win medium range gunfights.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, how do you feel about this M1 Grand coming into play? Because there's a ton of people like ARs are so OP. Like, it's always ARs. But I'm sitting there like, man, like, people are still running 3 PPSHs. Like, that's all I see everywhere. Someone told me yesterday, they're like, just wait until Search and Destroy when 3 to 4 people are running M1 Grands. I'm like, well, 3 to 4 people run PPSHs in Respawn.
Yeah.
So should we ban the PPSH?
It's an interesting time right now, and I feel like once people master the M1, I don't think anyone's even close yet. Because it's like in the infancy of people actually using and pulling out the weapon and learning how to use it on maps in certain situations, yada yada yada. I think once people actually get good with the M1, we're gonna see a problem. A 2-bullet kill, the actual time to kill when you hit 2 weapons or 2 bullets with that weapon, it's absurd. So I'll just start with that. I think people don't even know what they're doing yet with the weapon because they haven't had enough game time with it. Second off, you're completely right with the PPSH. It's the most well-rounded weapon in the game. It's the best weapon in the game right now because of that reason. You can use it almost all the time. Okay, and people do. People talk about these ARs like this. It's because some of them are just like easy to use because it's the AR play style, and that's what people freak out about. Like, you're not moving most of the time. You're shooting at people sprinting at you. You should be getting higher KDs with an AR. The game should feel easier for you as an AR player because you're posting up in headies. You're watching players cross to the hard point. You're just L triggering. It's simple as that. The problem is, like, when your ARs have lower, like, the 3-bullet kill ranges and the PPSH's lowest is a 4, that's when you have problems, especially online, because every single bullet registration online is so damn crucial. And when it takes one less, that's when BS starts to happen. Yeah. And now you have the M1 where you have a 2-bullet kill. Which means the potential for BS to happen is exponential. So that's where these problems come up.
But here's the thing too, right? As soon as the M1's gone, you have an SVT that also kills in 2 bullets, I think.
Yeah.
Has a 2 to 3 bullet range. As soon as you ban that, well, you have an M1A1 that has a 3 bullet kill range.
Yep.
So that is always in sort of, I mean, if pro players want to start using that stuff, they can.
Right.
But for me personally, I get why the FG was nerfed, right? The 3 kill range, I totally understand. I get why the first bar was nerfed. But besides that, like, I've always, like, and I think it deals with a lot of the maps and the way the routes are, like, especially a lot of the hardpoints. There's not a lot of places where you just set up and sit with an AR, like,
right.
You know, maybe Forest you can argue, but like Saint Marie, a lot of the hills, like, people are just flooding the front, just throwing nades, throwing stuns. Like, when I think of, like, Black Ops 2, Hardpoint, which is what everybody's going to think about forever.
Yeah.
There was immediate, like, places where you went with an AR. Like, you just had to go. You had to win the gunfights. It was the best place to go. But there's a lot of little corridors on these maps where pro players can just, you know, take these little submachine guns. They can stun you. They can run through different corridors and get behind you. And, you know, it's almost like with an AR, it's very tough at times to set up. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm in a very hard place with assault rifles.
That's a good point. You bring up Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
People always talk about the MSMC.
Yep.
The M8 was better than the MSMC. Does everyone forget that?
Yeah.
The M8 was the better weapon in Black Ops 2. You could one-burst hip-fire people. Like, if you watch clips from Black Ops 2, a lot of, like, huge plays, these guys are just hip-firing around with an M8, one-bursting people. And everyone was just fine with it then because this, like, it's always the difference between running a sub. Like, you have more mobility. It's like, it's just how it's always going to be. With your movement is so important. The way you can move around the map, the map layouts are so damn important, and that's why the PPSH is the predominant weapon right now.
Yeah. It's a crazy topic because like, for me personally, like, I totally understand why an AR is super strong, but it's not like the game is changing to that point. Like, all right, now you might see 2 M1 Grands on Forest, but that's what we were seeing anyways. We were seeing 3 or 4 FGs at Forest on times just a couple of weeks ago. But for the most part, you're still seeing 3 to 4 PPSHs, and it almost seems like people are still sort of in that I have to go fast jetpack mode. Like, I gotta go. It's not nade go. And as soon as a player sets up with, like, an assault rifle and you can't sprint at them because you die, people are getting mad.
Yeah.
Like, that used to just be the thing. That's literally what I did for years, Tyler. Like, I sat behind a head glitch with an OP gun.
That's where I
did that.
That's where I started too.
Yeah, I had an ACR. I had an M8. I had flak jacket, tac mask, hardwired. You couldn't nade me. You couldn't kill me. I had a trophy system.
Yeah.
Like, you had the team push me out. Like, you had a crazy gun. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not exactly sure what people want. It seems like a lot of people are like, well, the STG. The STG is ridiculous. You can't shoot that thing long range.
Yeah.
Same with the bar. The bar is so hard to shoot long range. The best long range weapon's probably the M1 Grand and the FG still.
Well, you got to remember too, like, how many people do we have from back in the Modern Warfare 2 days where your OBJ player would go 7-25 and pray you get a couple of flags out? Like, I don't think people like actually remember, or they didn't play it, so they didn't actually know how lopsided ARs were to SMGs. I feel like right now, it's a pretty good balance. It's just the layout of the maps that create these chokes that make it so easy for AR players to drop a lot of kills and not a lot of deaths. The problem, though, I don't think we're gonna find something that feels comfortable. I don't want to say balance, because I feel like the balance is pretty decent for the most part, because if you have a 3-bullet kill range AR, that fire rate needs to be so slow, and I feel like the nerf to the FG did that pretty well, right?
Yeah, it did that pretty well, but
if you have a 2-bullet kill range AR, that rate of fire should be even slower. So the fact that you can tap that M1 and hit those 2 bullets so fast, it's like, oh god, that's gonna make people angry. It's not gonna feel good, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. So that's that. Like, you either give a submachine gun a 3-bullet kill, a good 3-bullet kill range. I know the MP40 has a 3-bullet kill range. Give it a good 3-bullet kill range, or you have to limit the fire rate of the ARs. I feel like that's got to be it.
Yeah,
that's purely my opinion. Feel free to disagree.
No, I mean I think the reason that like a lot of people are so mad is because honestly there aren't a lot of like main AR players anymore. Like those voices are kind of overtaken, right? Like everybody's running 2 to 3 subs. There's not someone who's always dealing with it, and so when sub players are getting killed by a 3-shot range with a bar, which I do it, all the time in ranked. Like I totally get it. Or an M1 Grand, I haven't messed with it enough, but I've seen clips online where it's dominating up close. It just seems a little like backwards right now, which is weird to say. Let me ask you this: did you think the last FG was OP? I mean, I don't know, just because it had the 3-bullet kill range. Like, do you think if the old it's sort of the same thing, like if it had like a 4-bullet longer range kill or medium range, it wouldn't have been as OP? I just don't. I don't know. I don't know where that balance has to be.
There's so many little things you can tweak of like kill ranges that would probably make it feel better. Do I think it was OP though? Your original question. OP is such a big word.
Because again,
it was so good and so
it was great.
It was just so easy, I guess, and that's what people get so bothered with. It's like, oh, anyone can do that. It's like to a certain degree, I guess. It's just tough to say.
So can anyone run around with a PPSH that doesn't have recoil? It's
right, and then
it's so back and forth, dude.
And then another thing that just makes running a PPSH just feel wonky at times is you'll lose auto aim at certain ranges, whether there's like a smoke or like certain effects happening, graphics happening. Like you'll lose auto aim sometimes, and it just makes the sub just feel off. I don't know. Yeah,
it's still weird because like I'm trying to think of sort of AR alternatives, and like I've used the STG. The STG feels better to me. The STG is probably the best around medium range.
Yeah,
it's the hip fire on it is still really good. Like if you're a sub player, you'll probably get BS'd up close by a STG. Like it's sort of that same thing. Like I don't know, man. There doesn't seem to be like that. Like, all right, if I have this AR at medium range against a PPSH, I'm gonna win it. Feel.
Yeah.
Like the PPSH again, like I lose a lot of. It might just be because I'm old and bad now, but I'm running around the bar like I lose a lot of gunfights medium range to PPSHs. Yeah. I don't know.
And when when you're playing ranked, how many AR players are you actually playing against? Not many.
No.
Unless it's like a dominant pro, There's like no AR players in ranked from what I've seen, like at higher elos, like 2,800 plus. Like there's like no AR players. So it's like, does that hold any weight? I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's gonna be a back and forth topic because it's like the day.
The M1 is the one that really scares me because like if you're just shooting at weak people, like you're gonna like be bulleting people half the time at hardpoint fighting weak people. It's just like, does that feel competitive? Is the question that we all need to ask ourselves. And the FG, I feel like you can argue a little bit. The M1 just doesn't seem like it's that competitive at times. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree.
It's 2-bullet kill. I mean, I think everybody can argue against that forever. I mean, it's 2 bullets in COD. Like, that's super fast.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. So, I mean, we'll see. At the end of the day, it's still not to the point where you're seeing 2 or 3 M1 Grands on every map. You're still the teams that are still running PPSHs on most maps.
Because you need the mobility.
Yeah. I mean, that's just – we'll see. I mean, it'll be super interesting to see where those sort of stats go. This was our first conversation about sort of the meta right now because we just had a huge meta change. I'm sure this won't be the last. The games change over the year.
Oh, for sure. It's just getting started probably.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. I think ARs are in a super weird spot right now, just from my experience. I never feel too comfortable with one. Um, like when I use the M8, I like you said, I could use it in every single range. I understood it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So yeah, let's.
It's a fun topic to talk about, though. Just everyone seems to have a different opinion on individual weapons. So.
Mm-hmm. We can go over 2Ks really quick.
Yep.
I know we're already an hour in, so we can sort of breeze through this.
Yeah.
We can start with APAC.
Mind Freak won.
No news here, guys. Mind Freak wins. They'll be your number 1 seed out of APAC in pools. It was a game 5 against Taboo, but Mind Freak won. Huge surprise there. Nobody saw that coming.
I didn't.
EU, man. EU 2Ks are always interesting. Splice makes it to a final. Great to see them. I know Jerd has a tough time online. And it's kind of like one of those things when you know how people perform at LAN and how good they are, that just sort of gets to you. It changes your mindset online. But they got it to a finals. They beat XL. They beat Overtime. On the other side, Red, they get it to a semifinal. And then Giants. Giants beat Red in semis in a game 5, and then they 3-0 Splice.
Sheesh.
Something is always going on in Europe, and I know
it's crazy.
I know it's online. I get it, but that's a great showing from Giants. They're beating some great teams. I know they ended up actually picking up Brain, so it's 3 Spanish players in Brain, who is a UK player. So there's a bit of a mix on that roster. That's pretty exciting.
I love hybrids, bro.
Yeah, I think that's cool to see. I don't know, man. Dude, Giants they're in there. They're always in sort of contention, right? If I take a look at my Pro Point leaderboard, so yeah, I mean the same 5 teams that we saw in Dallas will be the 5 that you see. So you'll have Splice number 1, Red number 2, Vitality number 3, Unilad number 4, Epsilon number 5. So nothing changed really there. Maybe Vitality moved up a spot. I don't remember compared to the last one, but same 5 teams for pools. And then North America, NA2K. This was a pretty interesting one. TK make it to a final. They beat FaZe in a game 5. I know FaZe was having some online issues, but FaZe get to top 4, which is a pretty big deal for them. I know they joke about it, but they weren't performing to their best ability online. They beat E United in quarters in a game 5. E United, I think another big match in the round of 16, actually 3-0 to EG. So maybe still a little worrisome over in the EG camp. I don't know how you're feeling about that one, TeeP.
It's got to be worrisome, bro. Like,
yeah,
they've shown nothing. Still,
I know, man.
It's scary.
You want to pull through for them.
I know.
You do.
I want them to do good, or they're just not.
I know.
Every weekend.
I don't know, dude. Just you want like a little bit of life.
Yeah.
I'm sure the games are close. I'm sure Pat's going to be in here. He's going to give us the scores, whatever. I get it, but you lost 3-0. On the bottom side of the bracket, and then, as I said, TK beat FaZe. They made it to a final. On the bottom side of the bracket, Luminosity actually lose 3-1 to Ghost. Ghost, a roster, they stuck together, Tyler.
Yeah, surprisingly.
I heard of some rumors.
Yeah.
They didn't go through, but this is actually a pretty big 2K for them. It got them a lot of points to still put them in that race. I said it before. They're number 13 right now, so they're still there. I mean, they went 1-15 in Dallas, but they beat LG 3-1, which I think is a surprise. They beat Envy in a game 5 in the quarterfinals. Still worried about the Envy camp as well. I don't know about you, but that's a team I'm just not too sure on right now.
Yeah, they're like doing okay, but they're just in that sort of like 5 to 8, hanging out, chilling.
And I've seen some frustrations from those guys. I think it was Slasher. Hold on, let me go see. He might have deleted it. He says, "GG's Ghost. This is just getting old." I don't know if it's an online thing, if it's a roster thing, because
don't you just love when you lose and your teammate passive aggressively tweets?
I love that.
God,
that's
actually
what I look forward to. I'm hoping I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt and say that it was like about online, That's just what I'm gonna say. But it might not have been because they've been struggling, and Slasher has continued his performance, but
Slasher's been great, but like,
yeah. I know Temps had.
Do you gotta say stuff like that? Does that help? Does that really help?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Doesn't help. Especially when you have all right, if that is directed at his teammates, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant here. Especially when you have a guy in Hook who just transferred over. Like the guy is probably
he's probably trying his ass grinding.
Yeah, he's probably like, man, I'm the reason why we're doing bad, and I'm sorry. Like, could you imagine that pressure that he has on him?
Yeah.
And they got second at World Champs last year.
Yeah.
And now Hook has to come in, and he was. Everybody is very high on Hook, even myself. He's a great kid. Unreal talent, but he has to live up to that.
Yeah,
and
totally.
They're just not now.
And quick,
yeah,
it's tough.
And I'm a guy. I'm going to give them until Pro League.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. That's definitely not a good sign. Yeah, but Ghost beats them in a game 5. And then on the other side, you had an Echo Fox Rise, so the two rosters actually duked it out for the first time.
Yeah.
Rise won that 3-1, so that's a very good sign. Optic beat Allegiance 3-1, and then Rise beat Optic 3-1. So another great showing from Rise. Do you have anything on that match? Do you know what happened versus Optic? Because I didn't see that one.
3-1, Rise won, and I believe Optic won the CTF.
Okay.
So Optic losing both hardpoints.
Both hardpoints.
Hardpoint struggles for Optic continue.
Okay.
Talks of online being at hand, but
sure.
I don't know.
All right.
I mean, I know more, but that's all I'm going to say.
I got you. That's what I was hoping for, but I tried to pull it out of him, chat, but I got what I could. Rise then go on to semis versus Ghost. They beat them 3-1, and then you have a TK Rise final. And Rise won 3-1. So as you said at the top of the show, a big win for this team. This is sort of like, all right, this could have been the correct move. Everybody playing extremely well. So yeah, I mean that was.
Did you see Havoc's new team sneak into the top 8? You saw that?
Is that overtime or no?
I don't think they have an org yet, but it's
needed.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Havoc, Legal, BL Fire, Mosh getting in the top 8. That's impressive.
All right, so they beat Zodiac. Zodiac is okay. So those guys have been back and forth. They beat Ground Zero, so that's a great.
Yeah, it's a good
win for those guys. Yeah, man, that's a team that people have to watch out for in the open bracket going to New Orleans. So we'll see what happens.
Speaking on the AR conversation, I feel like BL Fire, just his playstyle should be imazing at this game.
I think he played really good at the beginning, but I don't know now.
Just remembering BL Fire and how he played, I imagine playing against him is annoying in this game.
Yeah.
Just random thought. Anyway,
I'm sure it is.
Yo, I saw some plays from Legal too. He's been apparently killing it.
Yeah, and that's great to see because obviously he had a great year in Black Ops 3 with H2K, and then since then was one of those players that I've kept my eye on, but hasn't shown much just yet. Had some woes last year, so we'll see if they're able to put something together. But I think that's about does it.
Yeah.
Content-wise, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I think that.
No, I think we ranted pretty well about the rosters, and then we had Doug chiming in. That was fun. We talked about the meta. That was a deeper conversation than I thought we'd have, but I liked it a lot. We'll see how things develop, especially with this whole M1 thing, what's going to happen with that. It scares me, but we'll see how it progresses. And then most teams are in the same sort of slot in terms of seeding for pools, and then the show is Thursday, correct?
It's Thursday, yeah. I believe it's Thursday.
Okay, cool. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, so then next week we can talk about those pools, New Orleans preview. We'll have another 2K we can just briefly touch on. We can see how those new rosters did online.
Yeah.
I get that it's online, but it is something to talk about. Yeah, see how teams are progressing. You want to just take a couple questions? I know this is a bit of a longer one. We did go on a little bit of a rant.
Yeah, I love it. I love rants.
All right, stream. Let's take some questions here at the end of the show like we typically do.
Before I smack you with them ads.
That's true, yeah.
Killer retired. I saw that earlier. Well, I don't know if that, I saw Proof tweet something.
Proof said it.
Did Sloss have, an official announcement, or was that...
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I know he's talked about it multiple times. Um, that's just like I don't know. I mean, it's very tough to say. Like, fact of the matter is the game's changed. I think Killa has had some solid teams after AW.
Yeah.
That DT team in Black Ops 3, but then at Champs they just didn't perform after getting second at stage 2.
Hmm.
And just since then, I mean, the game's changed, man. It's just if there was a game, he would be better at this one than the past couple of years.
Oh, for sure. I think he's probably just stuck in the situation where his individual stock has dropped off, and now you just, like once you fall out of that circle of talent, to be honest, it's hard to make your way back in, and it's just it sucks. It's hard. It's really difficult when you're used to a certain level, and then you're not there anymore. It's tough.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's like, and the only way to get out of that is to sort of just like have a great slaying event, and that's just what it comes down to. All right, let's see. Underrated team going to New Orleans. Like, do you mean in pools or in open?
Yeah, that's such a broad question.
It's a broad question. I mean, if we talk about pool teams,
which returning player has impressed the most? Kenny, easy.
Yeah.
Kenny played AW, so he's a returning player, and he's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So this Thursday. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good question from Endless. What's the best advice for up-and-coming pro and semi-pros in regards to signing contracts with orgs and finding balance between what they want and what you want?
That's a juicy question.
So for me personally, right, like I think in both our situations it was a little bit different because I mean there weren't many, like, orgs didn't really have contracts when we were up-and-coming players. Like
right.
it just kind of, I don't think until like Black Ops 2, maybe Black Ops 1 a little bit.
Yeah.
It was rare. It's probably much more common now. I'm sure there's a ton of esports orgs because of how popular esports is getting. Fact of the matter is both parties have to respect the contract. So I guess I would probably have legal representation, get it checked out, and just be honest with the org. If you want something that you think might happen, or if you only want something temporarily, I don't know. I mean, the org should be willing to work with you, and you guys find a pretty common ground. I think it's just about opening up.
Just one little tidbit on that. Isn't it funny how in esports, like, players are paid the same amount on teams? I've always found that interesting. Like, let's say a super well-established player is teaming with a bunch of like new people, yet all their contracts are most likely the same. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
That's a completely different topic, but it's just my brain hopped to it. I've always found that interesting. We can talk about that another time. But
that's a good topic to write down.
Just food for thought. Yeah, it just popped in my head once I heard contracts.
It might be a little bit different too now because a lot of contracts have like incentives, and those might roll over. Yeah, we'll see what happens. They're the same, yes, JP. They are the same.
Yeah, unless things have changed dramatically in the past couple of years that I don't know of. But as far as I know, it's just an interesting topic. We could talk about it at a different time. But yeah, Joe gave a good tip on like younger players and how to deal with contracts. But honestly, maybe find, if you have like a family friend or someone that your family knows, like some sort of legal representation to look over contracts before you put your name on the dotted line or whatever it may be. Just double, triple check so you don't get stuck in a situation where you're getting screwed over. There's people out there to help you with that. Is the best tip we could probably give.
Yeah. Opinions on Ryan Bacardi. Yes, dude. Big Ryan Bacardi fan.
Huge fan.
Huge Bacardi fan.
Huge. Someone needs to pick up Bacardi. All right, let's do one more question.
Yep. John, aka always, keeps asking me, shouldn't Splice B and Pool B for New Orleans to avoid TK in the winners finals. Well, B and D play each other, so they would if both teams win. So that B or D, it doesn't really matter.
Top 4 NOLA. That's what people are spamming.
Let's do that next week.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We'll have
pools. Yeah, we'll do that next week, chat. I like the question, but
let's see.
It's a lot of like repeat questions that we've already either talked about or have covered on a previous show.
All right, here's one. Do you think FaZe will win an event this year? And if so, will Priesta have to show up? Well, everybody will have to show up.
You can't. But
what do you think, TeeP? You think TeeP will, or you think FaZe will win an event?
Nope. I wouldn't be surprised if they're just in that top 4. I don't think they're going to win one.
Okay.
Blunt, but to the point. I think they're a fantastic team. I don't think they're going to win one.
Yeah, we've sort of talked about this. I think Zuma and Attach have to hit that certain level that we like certain tier that they were at, in AW where FaZe was winning events. I think the foundation's there and they're continuing to improve. Do I think they'll win this year? No, I probably don't. I would like them to. I think it would be great. I like the team a lot, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, probably not this year. But I am a fan of the team.
Hold on. I'm not hating on FaZe. I have them slotted top 4. But I'm just answering the question.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this week.
Yeah.
Thank you all. 20